Hey everybody, I just wanted to take a minute to explain to you the two most common things that show up in my practice during the fall season and when you're doing a fall cleanup. So I know I'm going to be out there soon to clean up my leaves, and I'm sure you guys are thinking the same thing. But a lot of times we can get different conditions and injuries that happen as a result of going out there only once or twice a year and trying to do the leaves all at once. So here are the two most common things that I see each year, and here are a couple things that you can do to mitigate the pain and maybe even just avoid them in the first place. The first thing is costovertebral syndrome. What that means is basically a rib has slipped out of place and irritated the tissue around it. I'll put a link up here and you can learn a little bit more in detail about that, but really what it feels like is really bad shoulder blade pain. And that can refer all the way up to the back of the neck and cause headaches. It can also limit the range of motion you have when you're turning side to side. So you might feel like it's jamming on one side and causing pain down through your shoulder blade. So why that happens when you're raking is because we're constantly doing an asymmetrical movement where we're reaching across our body and pulling the rake across. So a lot of times it doesn't necessarily happen while you're raking. You might not feel a pop in your back or instant pain. But what will happen, because we don't do this often, is you will get fatigue through those muscles. So later that night, or even through the night or the next morning, because those muscles are fatigued and they react a little bit slower, if you twist a certain way, you might have instant pain underneath the shoulder blade. And this isn't uncommon, but people say, I just did this little subtle movement and it got irritated. So make sure when you're done raking and your muscles are fatigued because you got all the leaves done in one outing, that you try to be very deliberate with your movements and try to avoid that for the first 48 hours after the activity. The other thing that you can do though, if it does actually happen to you and you do feel pain, is make sure you get adjusted right away or get some anti-inflammatory ointment on there, because that's going to help to release the inflammation. So if you have this over about 3-4 days before you come in and see me, it's a lot harder to fix it if you come in right away. So say it happens at 9 a.m. when you're out doing it and you got in to see me later that morning. Typically we can get that to calm down right away as long as we get on it pretty quickly. So number two is just mechanical low back pain. And this happens because a lot of times when we're out there doing those fall cleanups in the yard, we're doing some bending and we're doing twisting with that bending. And a lot of times that's a recipe for disaster, especially people that have prior chronic low back issues. So beforehand, we all know this, make sure you're trying to warm up. And a warm up for a lot of people can be as simple as just massaging the low back to activate those muscles a little bit and get the blood flowing there. You can wear warmer clothes around the torso to keep the body heat high while you first start doing the activity. And the other thing while you're out doing the activity is avoid doing stuff that is going to be very strenuous to your low back, such as going underneath maybe an evergreen if leaves have blown under there, and trying to lean forward and twist and pull those leaves out. So if you're going to do it and you don't have a blower to blow the leaves out, then just go on your knees, keep a neutral low back, and pull that out. Now, the other important thing, and this is kind of the fundamental issue here, is that when we bend forward, a lot of times we don't keep a neutral spine. So I'm going to link another video how to keep a neutral low back while bending and how to make sure you're bending through the hips rather than the low back. But essentially what you want to keep is you want to keep this nice curve through your low back, and as you bend, you're going to use the hips. Because when you don't do that and you bend through the low back, you compress these structures on the front here, which are the discs. So when you twist and bend when they're under compression, that's when the injury can happen. So be a little bit more conscious while you're out there about your back when you are raking the leaves this year, and hopefully it's a pain-free fall for you. Take care.